Hi, I'm Jeff Gonzalez, president of Trident Concepts, and today I'm here with Brownell's Daily Defense to talk to you about interacting with law enforcement after a self-defense shooting. So, if you happen to be involved in a deadly force encounter where you have to use your firearm for self-defense, there are going to be consequences. There's going to be things that are going to happen after that shooting. And one of them is going to be the interaction between you and law enforcement. So, in a typical scenario, either yourself or someone will call 911 and let them know about the incident. And the most important thing that you take away from the video is an understanding that as law enforcement is arriving on scene, they're getting information from their dispatch that is describing as much as possible about the incident. But you have to understand that as they roll onto the scene, they're not going to know who the actors are, who's the good guy, who's the bad guy. And for their protection, their safety, they have to kind of roll into the situation in a little bit more cautious manner. So even though you might be the good guy, you might have done everything by the book, as they arrive on scene, they have to put the pieces of the puzzle together for themselves, and that means that's going to take time. The most important thing that you can do after that is, if you have not holstered the firearm, what do I do? The first thing I will try to emphasize is the scene safe? In other words, is the violent criminal actor that attacked you subdued? Is the threat stopped? Is it neutralized? However you want to word that. And then, if so, well, now you have an option. Maybe I can holster at that point, or maybe I still want to be at a ready position. But once law enforcement has arrived on scene, at that point, you really got to make two choices. Do I go ahead and set the firearm down, or do I reholster? Now, there's pros and cons to either one of them. If you set the firearm down at your feet and you place your foot on it lightly, you send a very clear message that you didn't even have to be told to do that. You went ahead and preemptively set the firearm on the ground in anticipation of the commands coming to drop the firearm. The second option, which is to have you reholster, can also provide a non-verbal communication to the law enforcement, which is the fact that many criminals do not carry holsters. So somebody that actually takes the time to reholster their concealed carry firearm can start to lay out a narrative. The next thing we want to do is be in total compliance with whatever the commands are. Again, they do not know what has happened. It is their job to investigate a crime. And they're going to do that through collecting all the information they possibly can. So if they tell you to perform a task or to do something, immediate compliance with whatever they're doing. Because it is far better to sort things out after the fact than to try to sit there and argue or try to pass information like, I'm the good guy, you can't treat me like this, whatever the case might be. The other thing that I try to tell people is that it's a very real possibility that you could be taken into custody. Now that could happen in a lot of different ways in a lot of different scenarios, so mentally preparing yourself for the very real possibility that you could be taken into custody. Now, as the information, the facts of the case are revealed, you might find that you're released from custody, but you may also find yourself not just in custody, but being transported and processed. All right? Again, if you were in the right, if you did everything, as to the best of your ability, to what a reasonable person would do, then more than likely all that information is going to be released and you're going to know that. When you do start talking and interacting with law enforcement, what I remind people to do is stick to the facts. Now, this is going to be very hard because you're going to be in a heightened emotional state. Take a deep breath and try to just stick to the facts. Don't try to interpret anything. Don't try to do anything outside of just relaying concrete information, because it's very important that whatever information you relay is as truthful as possible. As you move into this, you'll start to discover that what we're trying to also do is create our strategy for how things are going to unfold in the courtroom. If you passed a piece of information, even with the best of intentions, that is later discovered to have been inaccurate, that can be used against you. So only release the facts that you know of. Don't try to anticipate or create a narrative that didn't exist. Stick to the facts. The next is you're going to want to file a complaint. And that means that you want to notify law enforcement that you wish to file a complaint against this person because he attacked you, he threatened you, he tried to kidnap you, he tried to rape you. Whatever the case might be, again, stick to the facts. Once you've filed the complaint, the next thing is to identify key evidence and key witnesses. So these are super important, because remember that the case, when it goes to trial, may take some time, which means that if it took 6 months to a year before it finally went to trial, this type of pertinent information may not be available. It may not be fresh in everybody's mind. So if it's not recorded at the scene, there's a good chance that it may not actually be remembered or brought into your case. After that, I recommend that you ask for medical assistance. Even if you weren't physically injured in the deadly force encounter, you're not a doctor, you're not an EMT or a paramedic. Allow somebody with that type of knowledge to do their job and actually conduct an assessment to make sure that you are okay. You may not have recognized that you were actually injured in the altercation, so allow them to do their job. Ask for medical assistance. After that, it's probably a good time to go ahead and ask to speak to your lawyer. One of the things that's important is that you allow enough information for the law enforcement to start the process. They have a job to do, which is to investigate a crime. If you've provided enough information, such as the fact that you want to file a complaint against this individual, you've identified key witnesses and evidence, you've asked for medical assistance, at that point it seems very reasonable for you to go ahead and ask for your lawyer. Which brings us to the last thing, which is, if you haven't already found a lawyer, it's important that you start to look for a lawyer. And that could be something as simple as, looking through the yellow pages, or getting involved in some of these shooters' insurances, such as CCW Safe. They provide you with a service that allows you to be somewhat kind of peace of mind during this type of situation, because they will assist you navigating through the legal system. So as you move through this situation, realize that it's probably going to be the worst day of your life. But realize that if you follow through with these simple steps, it's going to make the situation a lot better. I'm Jeff Gonzalez. I would love to hear any questions or comments. Please feel free to post them down below. Until then, take care and stay safe.